dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from Knick Of Time Show. Here giving that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And it's time to talk about a brutal Knicks loss because the Knicks, they lose to the Celtics 104 to 131. And I'm going to talk about it all, the good, the bad, the ugly. And also my brother Lee, he was watching the game bar, so he is on his way. So he should be joining us at any time. So I'm going to just talk to you guys one-on-one about this team and the breakdown of this game, honestly. So let's get to it. But before I get to it, shout out to everybody in the chat. All right. Shout out to people in the Twitterverse. Shout out to the guys in YouTube land who are here early watching this Knicks breakdown. Shout out to Sandman, my cousin Winston Ellis, my real fake cousin, and Fritz Ellis Sindor. Let's get it. So, I will say this. I've stated before this game even started that I felt like this game lost some of its lackluster because we lost OG Anunoby right before this game. And granted, you know what? The Celtics, they also lost Drew Holiday. They also lost Kristaps Porzingis. But the thing is, between their losses and our losses, the Celtics are a little bit deeper. So the Knicks' losses from our starters hurt us a little bit more. We really need all of our soldiers to go to battle today. Not an excuse for sure, because even with all our soldiers playing against the Celtics, is that guaranteeing a win? Nope. We still might get smacked, but you still kind of get a little bit better of a litmus test on how the Knicks and the Celtics match up, especially considering who we should be matching up against. Now, the first Knicks-Celtics game, we had Mikal Bridges, first game as a Knick, guarding against Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum lit him up. Second game, we had Mikal Bridges guarding him again, and Mikal has been guarding relatively well for the second part of this season. Got cooked again. But I'll say it before and I say it again. I rather have OG Anunoby guard Jason Tatum just because of his pure size. So it's funny, even going between last season and this season, I've still really yet to see OG Anunoby guard the Celtics yet, or guard really Jason Tatum. So like that's still something I really would like to see once OG Anunoby comes back, because we do play these guys a couple more times and hopefully OG will be back for that matchup. But there's a couple of things that happens when OG is not here, and we've seen it against the Pacers, right? When OG is not here, Tom Thibodeau starts to go with this different lineups, and he goes, you know what? I like size, so I'm gonna go with Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa is a guy who's switchable. He has improved offensively this season, but still really hasn't regained the respect around the league as an offensive player. Has worked on that corner three, but still hasn't really gained the respect of a guy who can shoot that corner three. And also, when you pair him next to Josh Hart, Josh Hart is a guy who's a diver and a slasher, who started off the season very well from the three-point line. And then over the last, I'd say 15 or 20 games or so, Josh Hart has fallen off considerably from the three-point line. So now what you have is a starting lineup for the Knicks down two floor spacers. Because Josh Hart is now returned to earth. Precious Achiuwa can't hit the broadside of the barn for three. And the Celtics aren't respecting any of those guys defensively. And they're loading up on Jalen Brunson, and they're loading up and and then we're getting in trouble. We're getting in trouble running all offensive sets in the half court because of it. So a lot of what you saw today was just the side effect of not having OG Anunoby in the starting lineup and how it hurts us versus versus the versus the Celtics, who can go down Drew Holiday and still have enough spacing where it hurts us more to double and try to double Cornet than it does them trying to just double off of Hart's man or Precious's man. So we started off this game very slow offensively because the Celtics just didn't respect us. They didn't. And thank God for Jalen Brunson's savvy. He was able to find a way just to get on the board by just getting to the free throw line. And if it wasn't for getting to the free throw line for Jalen Brunson, we wouldn't be getting anywhere. So kudos Jalen Brunson for doing that much, just keeping us in the game. But a big problem how we started the game had to do with the lack of spacing on offense with Josh Hart and Precious Achiuwa, and the lack of size and versatility on defense, losing one of our best defenders, the guy who's been shutting off people's water, the guy who's been having people on average shoot less than their career in OG Anunoby. It would have been nice to have him throw him on Jason Tatum for a while and not just an all steady dose of Mikal Bridges. Now, that third quarter, you saw Tibbs do something that he doesn't usually do. So he definitely noticed it as well. And what he did was he started Deuce McBride. He started Deuce McBride in that third quarter in place of Precious Achiuwa. And I kind of felt like we started to see immediate results after that happened. And Brunson was able to cook a little bit more in that third quarter. And the Knicks were able to kind of get on a run. We were down with 13 points. Cut it to 3. Played great defense. Got on the fast break. And it seemed like momentum was going our way. But the Celtics regrouped and they just picked on another weakness of ours, which is Karl Anthony Towns. Funny enough, they really tried to exploit Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on the defensive end. Brunson was fighting his ass off on the defensive end. He actually had a couple of great defensive stops, Brunson. He was not letting up, whether they were trying to post him on switches or not. He fought. Karl Anthony Towns, he's kind of a little bit slow on that pick and roll. They pick and roll us to death. I saw that left to right crossover off the pick and roll at the 3-point line from Jason Tatum, 27 times a day. I kind of saw the move coming before he even did it a few times, and it always resulted in a Jason Tatum dunk. And that's when Tibbs kind of took Cat out and went to Precious. Now, granted, we had 4 days off, so you think we'll be rested. And something happened to Karl Anthony Towns' knee. He was limping around, so maybe you can say that had a lot to do with his mobility and how fast he can get guard that 3-point spot. But also, knowing Karl Anthony Towns, his weakness has been guarding the pick and roll all season. So maybe that had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Maybe it had nothing to do with it whatsoever. And he just needs to get better. He just needs to get better. But those are some of the big takeaways I have from this game. And that third quarter was a big one. The Celtics are tough, man. Once we kind of got on that run, they were able to kind of pick and roll us to death with that Karl Anthony Towns pick and roll. Jason Tatum just went on a hitter, hitting pull-up 3 after pull-up 3 in isolation. And if you're the Knicks, that's kind of the shot you want him to take. You kind of want him to take those pull-up 3s. And He was just hitting him today. I don't know if it's the Garden crowd. I don't know if it's the timing, like he said, but you got to tip your hat off to Jason Tatum. He hit a lot of tough shots from way beyond the 3 point line. Um, I still feel like if we played tougher defense from the jump and wasn't able to get him going with those pick and rolls, maybe he doesn't hit all those tough shots. But it is what it is. Great players hit tough shots sometimes, and you just got to deal with it. But overall, the Knicks still defensively have a lot of work to do guarding the 3 point line, a lot of work to do guarding the pick and roll, and a lot of work to do if we want to consider ourselves contenders and match up with a team like the Celtics. Granted, no, we have pieces on coming back in OG Anunoby. I can't wait to have Mitch Robinson back. But the Celtics really did it to us today, and it was a rough one. It was a rough one. That's my little breakdown. But hold on a second. We have a new challenger. Shout out to my guy Lee. Yeah, so Lee joined the program. Lee, I think you came in and you heard me kind of talking about a little bit about my thoughts on the game and how I thought things went and where things went wrong. Lee, do you have any thoughts on today's game?
Jailus, it is unbelievably great to see you, my man. For those who don't know, my life flashed before my eyes last night. I was in a pretty severe car wreck, totaled my car on the highway coming back from seeing a friend's pup who's going to have to be putting down soon. So I was kind of saying my last goodbyes and got into a gnarly, ultra violent wreck that totaled out my car and almost took my life. There was a moment there where I was sitting in the silence of my car after the impact happened, and I looked up in the rearview mirror and I saw an 18-wheeler screeching to a halt. No shit, the smoke on the tires at how hard he was hitting the brakes. So he didn't kill me and send me through the windshield. So I am still here. God's not finished with me. I had to see this Knicks championship, although I'm starting to become a little worried. It might not happen this year because we are not yet capable of beating the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series if we were in the playoffs. Some of that is due to roster construction. Some of that is due to very pertinent injuries in OG Anunoby. I'm not going to say Mitchell Robinson yet because we have been on a roll without him, but OG is key to our defense, specifically Jason Tatum. If there's one silver line that I came away with, it's that Mikal Bridges, and in my opinion, defended his ass off on Jaylen Brown. With Jrue Holiday out of a game, Jaylen Brown was kind of their point of attack. And I thought that Mikal Bridges really pushed him into difficult shots, starting about a quarter and away into the third. He really got him away from going north and south and started getting him into east to west, moving left to right. And he ended up taking a lot of bad mid-range shots that I think kind of threw the rhythm off and allowed us to get into that run and get back in the game. But without OG Anunoby, Josh Hart got absolutely cooked when he was switched on to both Brown and Tatum really especially had his way with the different faces that Tibbs threw at him. Precious, Josh Hart, Bridges, Karl-Anthony Towns. No one could contain him. Precious Achiuwa was absolute ass today. Josh Hart was absolute ass in the first half. I thought he kind of came around in the fourth and played some decent basketball. I feel like him and Brunson really wanted to win this game. Karl-Anthony Towns was very hobbled. I'm just going to try to rant with a few notes. Karl-Anthony Towns looked very hobbled. Definitely a lingering injury there. If we don't have a healthy Karl-Anthony Towns, it looks kind of like the Jericho Sims, man. He looks a little lost out there. He's a step behind.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the impact offensively, and it ends up being 4-on-5. And it really puts a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Jalen Brunson to bail us out in ISO possessions if Mikal Bridges is not being aggressive. So there's some blame on Tom Thibodeau and some of the adjustments. I thought maybe too much of Precious, not enough Payne. The McBride minutes I thought were poor on offense. This was a game, and it's so easy to play armchair psychologist and coach, right? But this was a game where I thought Hot Porty could at least give you some size on Jason Tatum when we saw that Precious Achiuwa was getting cooked. I've seen enough from Hot Porty to feel like that from a level and above, he has a pretty good job hedging and recovering when he decides to be a double teamer on the pick and roll in the short roll. He can step back to the perimeter really as quick as Jericho Sims. He's not as large, his strides aren't as long, pause, but he has quick feet and he can really recover on the 3-point line. I thought minutes from him would have made sense. But I understand the thinking. This is our Eastern Conference Finals, right? That's how Tibbs' mindset is. We can't depend on a rookie to bail us out. I understand that sentiment. Once you got down 18, that's where, in my opinion, you start experimenting. You start breaking glass. And you start trying to try something new. Incredible lack of adjustments, I thought, after they countered our run with another 16-3 run. I thought that's when Tibbs should have done something different. And he didn't, and we lost the game. Jalen Brunson, one-man show is not enough to beat this Boston Celtics, and I look forward to the next time that we play with them when we have our full team. We'll see what happens. Glad to be here.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson was pretty damn incredible, but it was like I was having flashbacks of last year where I'm just like, somebody help this guy. Like, please, anybody help this guy. Like, Brunson had 36 points on 50% shooting, 55% shooting, and 42% from three, while this Boston Celtics are keying in on him. It's still freaking incredible to watch that. And then it was like, man, if we would just got some efficiency from anywhere else on the roster. Precious Achiuwa 1 for 4, Josh Hart. He started kind of get cooking later with 7 for 16. Carl Anthony Towns 3 from 8. Mikal Bridges 5 for 15. Miles McBride 1 of 8. Like, only one who really shot well at was Campaign. Campaign, who gave you 18 minutes and 40 seconds. So it was like, man, we needed more offensive punch from somebody who gave you anything decent. It was tough to come by today, for sure.
To me, I would say that when you look at the game holistically and say, okay, we don't have OG. Karl Anthony Towns is obviously hobbled, not 100%. And Boston's a good enough defensive team, a great enough defensive team, where knowing that he is hobbled, they're going to attack him and take this confidence as well. With Jalen Brunson as your really only threat, and Mikal Bridges not showing up, to me, Deuce McBride was a guy that I was really depending on to come off the bench and provide a spark. 1 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from the three-point line, 1 assist shows that he was inefficient in just about every capacity on offense. That's unacceptable in terms of where the hierarchy is, removing Cat and removing OG from that. It's Brunson, it's Bridges, and it's McBride. Those are the 3 guys we really depend on to score 2 points. Hart is more a facilitator. He's at the nexus, right? He's a glue that keeps the offense going. He's that pass. It leads to the pass. It leads to the shot. But in terms of on-ball scoring, that is, in this game with Cat injured, Brunson, Mikal Bridges, and Deuce McBride, and one of the 3 showed up. Jalen Brunson was absolutely terrific. He's on a tear lately. He's really developing an MVP campaign, and I don't really place any blame on him this game because he's continuing the thread right now where he's really showing you that he's so bad. There were a few times I thought he was foul baiting a little bit in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Some of the moves were a little bit disgusting as a basketball purist. I don't enjoy that kind of basketball. I've watched enough Harden and Houston for a lifetime. So I'm just not into it. But I thought overall Boston had no answer for him. They threw a bunch of different coverages on him, and I thought he exploited them all. He countered with counters, and his footwork was unbelievable tonight. Mini Hakeem the Dream. But yeah, he can't do it alone, man. That's not how the offense is built. The days of a superstar one-man show are gone. You need a full team firing all cylinders to be an offensive threat, and we did not have that. We had 2 cylinders tonight with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. I hope Karl Anthony Towns is healthy because if he goes into the playoffs with this level of lingering issues, we could have an early exit.
Yeah. Damn. Sorry for the typo, fellas. I see it says Raptors and not Celtics. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Lee. I'm gonna shoot Mikal Sunbail. Only because, like, as the game winds on, like, you fight, like, the amount of screens he has to fight over the rescreens and the rescreen of the rescreen, like, that wears on you. And that can kind of take your legs as the game goes on. And you're going to guard the guy's best player, and you're going to play, 34 minutes or whatever. So I'm going to shoot him a little bit of bail. Deuce, play hard on defense. I don't know. Like, to me, Lee, before this game even started, I felt like the Knicks were tight. Like I
I
felt
saw you
like,
tweet that.
huh?
I saw you tweet that. I agreed with you.
Yeah, like I felt like we kind of lost the game before it started
Mm.
because when the game started, I'm like, all right, cool. No, I'm gonna get, and I think you have to give the Celtics credit. They did the thing they're supposed to do. They really shut down our transition offense for like two, 2 or 3 strong quarters. They really played as well defensively. But then there were some certain shots where I'm like, okay, that's Mikal Bridges' patented, you know, fade away, 15 feet away. That's money. That was a brick. Precious Achiuwa has been good most of the season, shooting those little one-handed floaters. That was a brick. Um, Deuce McBride, he's been hitting those open threes all season. That was a brick. Like there was a lot. Like the Celtics defense was really, really good. But then there was like some shots where I'm just like, okay, we hit these shots though. Like, what was that shot? You know what I mean? And even down to Josh Hart, who thrives in transition, ripping and running. Like his turnovers, he wasn't in the game. It seemed like fully mentally until maybe the second half when he started to kind of figure things out and how the flow of the game was going.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think right now the Knicks are in one of those points in their journey toward contention where they have not figured out how to get over the mental block against the Boston Celtics. And to me, it's not a talent differential, it's psychological. We've seen it before in the past. We'll take the last 20 years as sample size because I'm sure we have some younger viewers. Think about how the Clippers had trouble getting over the Grizzlies in the early 2010s or OKC to the Spurs. Those are two good examples of teams that really struggled. Or another good one is like Boston to Cleveland. They had trouble getting over these matchups for whatever reason. There was a level of talent and coaching and depth that was intimidating to that team. And I think the Knicks right now are stuck behind one of those mental walls because Boston has won a championship. So it's only fortified since last season. They've proven that they can win it on the biggest stage. And Joe Mazzulla is a very good coach. And I think right now, he's a better schemer than Tom Thibodeau, a better adjuster than Tom Thibodeau. And Tom Thibodeau has his work cut out for him, in my opinion, more than anyone else in the Knicks organization. It's Tibbs has to learn to adjust and know how to, like Ebony says, freestyle. I thought that the Quinta, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, the really big giant center that is not a part of the rotation, but was brought in today because of a KP injury. I thought he was unbelievable. He really set the tone in the
Yeah,
first half breaking our not just breaking our back, but it's kind of that thing that campaign can do. And Precious has a tendency to do as well. Quickly used to have it, where he also breaks your spirit because you're like, man, that's a shot we were willing to live with, and he's hitting it consistently, almost perfect from the field, and he's doing it getting on offensive rebounds and putbacks. Those type of things can. It doesn't just turn the tide of the momentum. It's a mental thing too. It breaks your mentality where it's like I just spent all this time chasing over screens to stop that Jaylen Brown pull up from three, but I can't stop him in an open lane getting downhill and dunking on us. It's like, damn it, man. And people start not exerting as much energy on
right.
defense when those things happen. It's like, what's the effing point? And I actually don't agree with you. I'm not going to debate you on that Mikal Bridges, which is why I wasn't real harsh on him. I'm not pointing him out as being a failure on offense because, again, he was excellent on Jaylen Brown. I thought his defense on Jaylen Brown was maybe the best defense I've seen on Jaylen Brown this season of any other opponent. Cleveland did a pretty good job on him too, but overall, I thought it was really good.
Mhm.
But Tatum, man, we need OG to neutralize Tatum, not just to make shots harder on him, because Tatum had so many. They were running this. I'm not smart enough to know what the play was called, but they were running this play where like other guys were working as decoys, and the movement they were doing off ball, it would allow for this 2-second opening downhill, and Tatum was exploiting it off the catch and just getting to the hoop. I mean, it wasn't even a layup; it was a slam dunk. And that play really killed us, and Missouri was spamming it. It's tough, man. You need OG not just to neutralize him defensively, but to score and to make Tatum work on defense. Because Tatum really didn't have to work that first half. He was chilling on the defensive end. I mean, he was doing help defense, and they were great as a unit, but he didn't have a matchup that was really cooking. Jaylen Brown took that Derek White took that. So yeah, man, and also shout out Joe Mazzulla. He played a decent extended rotation today. I thought Tibbs should have done the same. Once the second half kind of blew wide open, I thought you should have made an adjustment, but man, we can't beat the Celtics. They are
Yeah,
the world champs. They're a damn good team. To me, there's not a whole lot of reason to like hang your head. There's some things we definitely got to work on. I definitely have some concerns heading into the postseason about Tom Thibodeau being able to beat Joe Mazzulla in the 7-game series. I have my concerns. Not concerned about Brunson, not concerned about Hart, concerned about Cat's health, but once he's healthy, not concerned about him either, man. Mikal Bridges just has to stay aggressive. Deuce Bride has to stay aggressive. Yeah, those are my main points.
Yeah, and before you even came in, Lee, I started with OG Anunoby should be guarding Jason Tatum. That was like one of my opening statements. And that it's kind of been unfortunate that even in our past matchups, we didn't have OG really guarding him. Like the first Knicks Celtics matchup this season was Mikal guarding Jason Tatum, and in my brain I'm just like,
Yep.
why?
Cut.
Even last year when we got OG, we played the Celtics. I I think OG was injured when we played the Celtics, so we still didn't get to see OG guard Jason Tatum even last season when we got him. So it's like that one thing I've been wanting to see since the 2023-2024 season. I still haven't seen versus the Celtics. It's kind of crazy, and that's probably like that's to me that's coming like one of the number one weapons for us. OG on Tatum, McCall on Brown. And I also started off with saying that Celtics lost to Drew Holiday. But it's like there's such a deep team, man. Like their team is a lot deeper. It's like when we lose a player, it hurts us more. It hurts us more. Like we need everybody or we're in trouble, pretty much.
Well said. And one more point that I want to bring up that I think is really pertinent to why we lost this game specifically is a 3-point volume. Under Tibbs, we have actually been historically a very efficient 3-point shooting team in terms of our percentages on mates. But we've yet to be able to balance that with being a high volume 3-point shooting team. Tonight, we only took 24 threes in total. And this kind of reminds me of the month of December where we were really lacking on volume and guys were getting banged up and knocked down, driving to the paint, and really operating in mid-range. It became a very predictable offense. And that's been an up and down trend of Tibbs's tenure as the head coach here, no matter who's on the roster. We get into his fronts where we just get really trigger unhappy on shooting a 3-point shot. And there were a few opportunities tonight that I thought guys should have taken it. There's a few moments I can recall of Josh Hart and Cam Payne and Deuce Bride not putting up threes, Mikal Bridges as well. I think again, man, we talked about this. Right? I am no genius. I'm a noob trying to figure out play calling, but there's some simple actions that you can get guys going. And I've seen coaches, we have someone who's going through a shooting slump. And they did this in Toronto for RJ. They helped RJ get out of his shooting slump this year, where you're just running some really nice off-ball action and using your best player, sharing the floor with this guy to act as a decoy. And I thought moments where Brunson was out there, that could have been done for Mikal Bridges and Deuce Bride in those shared minutes to be able to get open looks coming off of curls or dribble handoffs. And there's just not a lot of that happening. I know if Karl-Anthony Towns is not fully engaged because of his injuries, that excellent dribble handoff action that he's been doing all year, looking like Sabonis on the 3-point line, that's going to dissipate. So I understand some of the mechanics behind the scenes that are working to our disadvantage and gain those looks, but you got to find other ways. Okay, make it a guard-to-guard string. Doesn't always have to be Karl-Anthony Towns. Use Josh Hart in that action. Something needs to be amended so that guys are not having to work so damn hard to score, because thank God we got Jalen Brunson, or we would have been blown out by 30, because he's the really one who can see any kind of defense and have a counter for it. We don't really have another player that can do that right now, because even Karl-Anthony Towns, it's foul prone when he starts adjusting to how the defenses are playing him, especially when it's in the free throw line and extended.
Well, two things. Well, one, I'll say that we are a team that don't shoot a lot of threes, but when you start Precious Achua in the lineup, because OG Anunoby is out, your 3-point output is going to dip even further, especially considering Precious will only shoot a 3 if he's on one of the corners. If he gets the ball on top of the key or on the elbows, he's not shooting it whatsoever.
Right.
The only time he will actually shoot that 3 is if he's feeling good, the Knicks are hot and they're rolling, then he'll shoot that 3 because like there's no pressure. But other than that, he's only shooting those 3s from the corner. And I kind of start off the game talking about how that really hurt us in the first quarter because the Celtics packed it in on us in the first quarter. Because he wasn't shooting threes and because they wasn't respecting Josh Hart's threes either. So that's one thing. Second thing, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Oh, adjustments. The one adjustments I will say that Tibbs made today was he actually started Deuce in the third quarter. I guess he realized that the Celtics didn't respect the 3-point shooting and try to give Jalen Brunson some more room. That's something that Tibbs usually doesn't do. So he must have been really desperate. And I mean, Deuce didn't score enough, but I think just the threat of him scoring helped because JB got loose that quarter. But it is what it is. And oh, one more thing too. You said something to me earlier about Huckporty guarding wings. This is not like a this year thing. This is like a next year thing when maybe Tibbs and these guys gain more trust. Like that could be something that we can break glass on in the future, depending on how he develops. Because you're right, Lee. For you guys who don't know, behind the scenes, Lee texted me and said, "Yo, does Porty look like he can guard wings pretty well?" And that was after watching the Knicks. What game? What was the last game, Lee?
Rockets?
Knicks Rockets. Was the Knicks Rockets game? He was guarding somebody on an island. No, Knicks Raptors. Knicks Raptors. He was guarding. What's that annoying dude who was getting in Quentin Grimes' face?
Barnes, Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes. He was guarding Scotty Barnes one-on-one, and Scotty Barnes thought he had an advantage, and he got locked down by Ariel Hawkporty. And then he was like,
yeah, especially in the mid-range. He forced him in some really tough brick with no level of verticality on the shot. I thought it was really great defense from the free throw line in.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that make you go, type of moments where I think you're absolutely right, Lee. I think we have somebody who was a center who can probably guard wings too. So because it's long term, when people are talking about, damn, what are we gonna do about our depth? How are we gonna improve? Like, we gotta draft. We have to draft and develop. We don't have a lot of cap space. The new CBA is rough. The Celtics had some great timing where they had two of their top players drafted and under contract, and all their guys in the house before the new CBA happened. They was able to keep a lot of their players in depth because of it. We traded a lot of our pieces, so it's a different setup. So it's going to be we're gonna have to develop from within. We're gonna have to develop the rookies, whether it be Pacome, whether it be Forty. We're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, man, it's real easy to have short-term memory too, and forget about how long of a road to contention the Boston Celtics had. Like it was a solid 6 to 7 years of them cultivating a roster first that was good enough to win it, then for Udoka to establish a hierarchy of a pecking order. Who's the first guy? Tatum. Who's number two? Brown. Eventually, who was number three? You can argue whether it was Derek White at that time or Marcus Smart back then before they made the bid trades. It took a while. They had some really horrible playoff defeats. They struggled to make the finals until that magical season under Udoka when they lost to Golden State in the finals. But they struggled. They struggled with shooting. They struggled with Marcus Smart not being a true playmaker. They struggled with KP's injuries. They struggled with Al Horford losing his ability to put the ball on the floor. They struggled without having a bench. They went to the Kyrie era, the Gordon Hayward era. Like, it's important to think about the journey, right? It's the destination's right there. We saw it last year. They won a championship for sure. But the journey was 5 to 7 years long. It's important to remember that we are just now entering the contention era with the trade of Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. There's going to be some very hard bumps along the road. But to me, it's all about, how do we compete? How does Tom Thibodeau adjust with the pieces he has at his disposal? Who steps up in moments and plays clutch and who doesn't? Those are the things that I'm going to dictate my judgment on whether Tom Thibodeau is the right coach, whether this is the right roster, and so on and so forth. So right now, I'm giving a little bit of grace because of how we're in our infancy in terms of contending, and we're still a third seed, and we're still damn dominant. And when we're fully healthy, we looked unbelievable. So I think there's some context to apply and realize the Boston Celtics are not become the Boston Celtics overnight. It was a long, arduous process that actually took a lot of grieving and a lot of brutal losses in the playoffs for them to get where they are.
Yeah, I agree. That's why when I go through the season, I'm like, okay, we got some losses, we got some defensive lapses, we got some. When I go through the season, I see the potential, but I'm just like, I got to see how this team matches up against other teams to really make a concrete judgment on where we have to grow and where we're strong right now. I don't think we're ready to take on the Celtics quite yet this year for a championship. Does it mean we're not going to get there eventually? We still have to still be together as the group and develop. And I think there's some mental hurdles. There are some mental hurdles we have to get over too. And I actually seen that same thing happen versus OKC. The second game versus OKC, it seemed like we're playing tight too. To me, those are like the only two games I saw us kind of play tight. So there is a mental hurdle to get over, but there is some talent on this team. We just need to kind of develop it and then address needs accordingly if we have to.
Yeah, and there are 29 other teams in the association besides the Knicks. Of those 29 teams, you can say that 15 of them are playoff teams. And of those 15, 8 of them are the ones that we're going to play potentially in the 7 of them we're going to play in the East. And of those 7, Boston's the only one that we really have true trouble with. We've shown that we can beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. We don't have to worry about Jimmy and Miami anymore. Another team that beat us. Indiana absolutely looks like they have fallen back down to earth from the overachieve of last year. I don't even think the team would be afraid of them in a 7-game series. They would probably relish playing them again, this time with Karl-Anthony Towns and OG, and they'll be fully healthy. So really, it's just Boston in the East, which is a pretty good place to be. You know, there's been times where there's a huge discrepancy between the Knicks, thinking about the mellow years, and what the Boston Celtics were or the Miami Heat were. There was a huge chasm in talent. Chasm's not that big between us and them. Really, continuity is the only thing, and coaching, it's Tibbs expanding his experimentation and willingness to experiment, that will close the gap. And that's going to take time. It might not happen this year, but as long as we compete in the playoffs, as long as Tibbs tries and does different things, then I think year over year, we have what it takes right now to cultivate this talent and to really win a championship in the next 12, 16 months.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, salute to the chat. Shout out to TikTok and YouTube land. I see you in the chat also. If you're here, if you're liking the Knicks discussion, we here after every Knicks game talking Knicks basketball. Shout out to TikTok land, local B man. Shout out to you. Shout out to user 388425. I don't know all those numbers. Shout out to you as well. Also shout out to you guys on YouTube: JT Riddick, Sandman, David Smith, Anna Grill. None other. Is there like a beef happening on YouTube? What's happening on YouTube? See, no name calling
the chat.
Y'all fighting over the Knicks over there? What's going on? Oh man. Well, salute to you guys. Shout out to everybody, JT Rick and all these guys. If you're loving this show, hit that like and subscribe. Be here after every Knick game. For sure, for sure. I'm done talking about everything. We can kind of briefly talk about the Sims trade if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Yeah, man, we knew this was going to happen. The GOAT Ian Begley reported it when he reports something that's as affirmative as when he's saying this is going to happen, so prepare yourself. Mentally, I already said goodbye to Jericho Sims, and I think we have gotten to the point where we're a respected organization and we can be depended on to do right by our players. And I think sending Jericho Sims to Milwaukee to compete for a championship and probably be their backup 5. Really, they don't have a whole lot of depth there at the 5 position behind Brook Lopez. He is really exactly what they need. I mean, he's going to fit in like a glove. He's very coachable too. So I think they're going to have Doc is going to enjoy him. Yeah, I thought it was a solid move of grace by Leon Rose to send him there and not banish him to the hell of Wizards or Charlotte or somewhere else, has crap team in the league. The return, I also didn't have very high expectations of. And I said on Twitter, I said on here, the best case scenario for me is just a salary dump so that then we can have that cap room to sign a TJ Warren or someone on the waiver wire. I don't think we're going to sign someone on the waiver wire. I think Leon thinks ahead. He has a list of everyone that's probably a possibility, and they went through them with his team and went player by player and saw there's no one on here that really interests us. Otherwise, we would have signed that guy already, or there already been a signal that we're probably going to sign him from Ian or someone else and say, hey, this is what we're hearing. We haven't heard that. So TJ Warren is probably going to be called up from a G League to take that final spot, which I love. He, I think, can be that Albert Burks. If, God forbid, shit hits the fan in the playoffs and we have injuries, I like the idea of TJ Warren being that guy on the end of the bench who'd come in and probably give you 9 a game, 10 a game, 2 threes. However, on DeLon Wright, but man, there's some shades of Albert Burks there, with like, oh, he's good on defense. Oh man, he can play 3 positions. Oh, he's bid for a guard. That's nice, but let's be honest, man, this guy's washed. Saw someone passing around at a NBA University tweet that was like he's like this percentile of on ball defense, point of attack. That's cool, man. He ain't gonna get those. He's not gonna play enough to ever reach those metrics again. Because you got to play to get into a rhythm on both sides of the ball. He's not going to play. And I hope it's not a situation where he does play because I think Campaign is a better player than him. Deuce Bride is a better player than him. And damn it, I'd rather see Tyler Kolek than him. So, yeah, I think he's going to be on the bench or waived by the time the playoffs start. The return to me didn't matter. It was more about just freeing up that roster spot so we can have some flexibility on adding another wing before the playoffs begin.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was definitely a Leon Rose. Hey man, go do your thing.
Yeah,
it's like whenever we do trade Knicks players, they end up going to a situation that's still not like a bad one.
Yeah,
From Randall going to Timberwolves, even though the Timberwolves would say it's a bad one for them, but if you ask Randall, he would say Timberwolves isn't a bad spot to go to considering they were pretty much championship contenders last year. Obi Anunoby being sent to Indiana.
And Devo was happy about Minnesota too. That was one of his destinations as a free agent.
Right. So it's like this definitely seemed like a little kind of a favor move because you know what? Get some playing time. Go get some playing time to get your next contract and see what you can do, young pup type of deal. Yeah. Freed up some roster spot. I wasn't expecting any big name to come back for the 58th pick of the draft who played spot minutes in this rotation. I wasn't expecting anything huge. So I saw some kind of outrage on Twitter and I was just like, I don't know. I'm like, it is what it is, man. Like I don't get the outrage over trading your 58th pick and not getting Michael Jordan back. I didn't understand it, but
or not getting Luka Doncic back.
Yeah, you're out here not getting Luka. Yeah, like okay, we know what I might be mad about that, about not trading Sims for Luka. That was great.
I will say again, I like silver linings, man. I think it's how I live my life to try to find the good in things. It does to me signal a fast-tracked trust in Ariel Hot Porty. I think we're not. It's not gonna be like, oh, like where's the trust? He didn't play tonight again. This is Tom Thibodeau we're talking about. I don't think he's going to rely on a rookie to beat the Boston Celtics. If he can't beat the Boston Celtics without employing a rookie, then Tom Thibodeau in his mind is like, we're not there yet. And I respect that logic in a broad sense. But I think Hot Porty is trusted on both sides of the ball. Obviously, offensively, he just runs better routes. He has better instincts. He just is a more aggressive scorer. He's not afraid to try, not necessarily practice moves, but just general in the game moments. He knows how to put the ball back in the basket. Sims was so stiff and so mechanical in how he had to score, it never translated to a game because players are like, bro, are you kidding me right now? Like, sure. Yeah, do your move, Sims. Like, sure, we will live with that.
Yeah.
But Hot Porty is more instinctual, and he presents himself, I think, as not a better lob threat because that's not how we play, but a better rim runner, someone that we can do those backdoor cuts to, and he didn't attack the basket in those sets that we run for OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa. I like him, man. I think there's a lot of defensive versatility. Rim protection, I think we're going to miss out with Sims. Sims was, the numbers match the eye test with Sims, and man, boy, we were at the revolving door at night, man. It's a turnstile in that first half. It was really disgusting to watch. Precious Achiuwa especially was absolutely ass tonight, man.
Yeah.
That first half, Precious Achiuwa minutes were maybe his worst minutes that I've seen him in the Knicks uniform. Josh Hart was really bad in the first half too, but he redeemed himself, in my opinion, in the second half. And the energy was there. Precious Achiuwa, bro. Oh, man. I'm not going to go as far. I saw people on Twitter say, I never want to see Precious at the 4. Well, if you don't want to see him at the 4, where the hell do you want to see him? Because as a 5, that's the worst scenario on the team. Like he's been historically very efficient at the four next to Sims, Mitch, and now Cat. The numbers are there. Advanced analytics, very solid as a rim protector. So I think one game against the Boston Celtics shouldn't determine whether he plays those minutes at the four anymore. I think overall he's shown success there.
Yeah, I think he's just scared of the Celtics.
He might be.
Like he had a horrible game against the Celtics last season. Like every time the Celtics always dare him to shoot. They always dare him to shoot. They do not take himself. They do not take him seriously. Like even today, like he played all those minutes. He had like 4 shots because he plays timid against them offensively. So it's like, and that's not the type. That's not what we need against the Celtics when Jalen Brunson is being loaded up on for like 24 quarters. And it was my same argument about when OG went down versus the Pacers, where I felt like we might have been in trouble. It's the exact same argument. Love Precious Achiuwa, and he worked for certain matchups for certain teams. If in a playoff situation, when you really zero in on people's weaknesses, it's really easy to zero in on him. But yeah, I'm glad he's working on those corner threes. That'll help a little. That'll help some, but you gotta start working on the other parts too. But I guess
my long-term prognosis for this season, thinking about who wasn't playing tonight and what we look like fully healthy, my number one concern is having to put this much stock in what Mitchell Robinson brings, but also being moderately concerned at Tom Thibodeau's inability to implement him in the offense. Like, man, we really should be seeing some bid-to-bid screens that lead to Mitch downhill and Karl-Anthony Towns being the lob man to Mitch. That should happen because we saw it work to a Western Conference Finals appearance for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And to me, I think Mitchell Robinson can do a lot of what Rudy Gobert can. Gobert has better hands, but there are some pivotal moments in playoff history where Gobert's hands have cost them playoff games when he was with Utah and with Minnesota. So I think, like, in hindsight, we really have to activate Mitch on the offensive end. I know Tibbs is going to steam because he had those times where he had Perkins and Garnett in Boston or Brandon Bass and Garnett. He knows how to use him defensively and put Cat Moore in that weak side help, which he's pretty solid in, as well as in Denver, or be that one-on-one guy, and then Mitch is the rim protector. But on offense, we got to get Mitch some looks because otherwise it's going to be like how Precious is viewed by opposing teams. 4-on-5.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna see more of that, but it's not going to be against like the Celtics. Like they're going to be against lesser teams where he's going to experiment on stuff like that. I think that's why we saw that more versus the Raptors. Like,
okay, well, yeah, I agree. Those are the games where you experiment. By the playoffs, it should be polished where you're implementing it against all teams. Because in the playoffs, it's not going to be the Raptors. It's going to be the Cleveland and the Bucks and the Celtics. I think it's imperative that we are employing that by that time, where Mitch is getting lobs and bid-to-bid action from Karl-Anthony Towns specifically.
Yeah, which you know what, and segue into some Mitch news because Ian Beckley has reported that Mitch, the time, no, not Ian Beckley. I'm sorry, it was Shams actually. Shams reported that Mitch's timetable to return is sometime before March 1st. So they put a date on it, which is interesting. So I guess it's a little bit. I guess to me that just means after All-Star break and not much afterwards. Like All-Star break ends what, the 20th or something when it first came out, somewhere around there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we should see Mitch is coming soon. So excited to get Mitch back and see what that looks like with like what Lee said, the big to big lobs and some defense on the back end would be nice instead of Jason Tatum just going all the way to him. Maybe Mitch can be there to meet him a couple of times. Like that would be nice.
I say that there's a bigger picture there of why I specifically pointed out those bid-to-bid lobs. Because if you're not employing Mitch on the offensive end and you have such an advantage, I mean, how do you guard a bid-to-bid pick and roll between Mitch and Cat? I don't know. Like I'm not smart enough coach to figure that out. That's hard to stop because of the verticality, the athleticism. I mean, the passing ability by Cat. It's beast. It's truly beast mode. But if you're not utilizing that, then your front court rotation is really Cat and like two or three guys who can't score at all. Like even Hot Porty, let's be honest, at this stage in a playoff series, yeah, as solid as he's shown flashes of, he's going to get cooked and shut down offensively. You have to have someone there in the front court that gives you something, even if it's like one shot, a Hartenstein push shot, something that is a bailout option or something you can go to when your offense stalls. And to have a rotation of Hot Porty or Precious and Mitch, and none of those guys can give you anything on offense and are not even be attempted to be unlocked by a teammate, that is a recipe for disaster because every good team that we are going to face in the playoffs is going to have at least two guys in their front court rotation that have two or three moves that they can go to beat you. And I don't want to be the only team that can't do that.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Good point. Good point. And shoot, you look the Cavs getting stronger too. So we got teams to worry about, man. We got some work to do. Got some work to do.
Yep.
It's funny because DeAndre Hunter's been on a trade. DeAndre Hunter, I feel like he's been in trade rumors for years. For years. And this is the first year he's been healthy enough where it seemed like a viable option. Because every year he's like, yo, he's good, but he's always injured. He's good, but he's always injured. This year it seems like could be the year where it's like, oh, he's good and he's still here playing. So solid pickup by the Cavs, trading on Okoro, who played well defensively, but Brunson always cooked that dude.
No, I think they kept Okoro. I believe they traded Karis LeVert, their sixth man, and they trade George Dane.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. It is LeVert.
Yeah.
But great pickup. Great pickup for the Cavs, man. Solid 3D guy who's finally healthy.
Yeah, I tweeted that my cats are fighting. I tweeted that I thought it was a lateral move. But he does pick up some all ball scoring. Hold on 1 minute.
I feel like Lee's cat is over here causing havoc. If I had to guess what was happening. Shout out to Lee's cat. Shout out to the chat too, yo. Shout out to Sandman, David Smith, Andy Grill. I still feel like we'll be good against the Cavs. I think the key for us will be Mitch's return because I always felt like the Cavs' strength has been Mobley and Jared Allen. Whenever Mitch has faced those two, he's kind of gotten the better of them, whether it be last season or even the playoffs. There was memes going around as Mitch having those two as their sons because of the way he was just boarding and blocking shots. So having Mitch to face the Cavs to me is going to be ideal, helping us beat the Cavs if we happen to meet them in the playoffs, for sure. Now, what was you saying about Hunter?
Oh, I apologize. My cats were battling it out.
I figured it was a cat problem.
Yeah, Hunter, I was actually surprised when I went to Google him and I saw he was averaging like 19 a game. I was like, wow, he's actually getting touches. And I think there was an intense bump once Jalen Johnson went down that he became more of a focal point in the offense. I do think those touches will now he's have to adjust himself into a different role because man, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, they are so on ball. You have to account for about 4 or 5 other guys are in catch and shoot opportunities for 3. Evan Mobley's having a higher usage across the board. Allen is a lob threat. I don't think the on ball shots are going to be there in the playoffs. He's going to have to really adjust to be more of a catch and shoot option, which that's what Karis LeVert was really dominating in. If you close out on him, he can still put the ball on the floor, which Hunter can do as well, maybe even at a higher degree. But defensively, to me, is where he's really the linchpin, more so than another shooting option. He plays incredible defense. He gives you better size than LeVert, and I think more experience at guarding a high pressure situation as well. That's a great addition for their starting 5 defensively because their backcourt is so undersized. They really need someone to be again the Nets' point to guard the point of attack. So he gives them that. But offensively, I don't think it was that big of a move. And you gave up some pretty solid depth and the rest of your draft capital. That's their all-in move. This is the roster they have to try to win it all. And I still think we could beat them in a 7-game series.
Me too.
Not as confident about the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, Same. I concur. I concur. All right, yo. Salute to the chat. Salute to the chat. Nick Yak, Josh Smooth. Everybody was rocking with the KOT show after a Celtics lost on a Saturday night after midnight. You guys are crazy, Knicks fans, and those are the type of Knicks fans we love. So we appreciate you.
Yep.
All right,
We love y'all.
watching this show with us. All right, all right. Any ooh picks and or bruh picks you want to talk about? I feel like
Man, I feel like I unloaded the clip on the Mavs for the Luka trade, even though AD balled out and then got hurt. That's kind of the AD experience. Um, but I thought, man, the San Antonio Spurs to me, obviously Luka to the Lakers is cataclysmic.
yeah, the Spurs,
I
man.
thought that the
Yeah,
Fox to the Spurs move wasn't just great based on fit. It reminded me of how elite that front office is. They really fleeced them. They gave up very little. They didn't give up any of their top best nine guys. I think it was like Zach Collins and someone else they gave up, and then like a pick, one first round pick, I think. I mean, Fox is dynamic. He is going to unlock not just Wemby, which is the obvious, but he's going to unlock the Devin Vassell's and the Stephon Castles, the Jeremy Sohan. All those guys are going to have such easier routes, more wide open lanes, better lobs and catches, crisper passes with CP3 backing them up or playing alongside them in the backcourt. Oh man, they are my dark horse in the West. If they end up getting out of that play in and they're the 7 or 8 seed, I'm telling you what, they can beat OKC in a 7 game series. That's how confident I am because if Greg Popovich is back, you're talking about the best coach in NBA history and maybe the most dynamic player right now in Victor Wembanyama. And that core, damn, that's dangerous. I loved what San Antonio did.
no, I agree with you, man. When I saw that trade go down, I was like, uh-oh. Because the San Antonio Spurs are kind of already on the rise with Wemby playing the way he is, inside, outside, blocking shots, hitting threes, isos, post ups, complete game. See, second season in the NBA, he's really starting to put things together. And then you add Fox to that team. He's kind of been stuck in purgatory. Uh, and I'm not gonna like. Shout out to Ryan. Me and Ryan used to have debates about Fox versus Lonzo Ball, and I always felt like Fox had that little bit of like a dog in him, and
Mhm.
even though he's kind of stuck in his weirdly, I feel like the only reason why he wasn't getting his just due because he was stuck on the damn Kings, and that team was so weirdly built. But now you put him on a team with a bunch of length and defenders, like he should be. That's going to that's going to unlock a lot for him. It's going to lock a lot for each other. So, yeah, that
And
team for the next how many? Yeah, that team is going to be scary. The type of speed that Fox has that can't be taught with the type of size that Wimby has that can't be taught is going to be an insane athletic conundrum for a lot of teams for years. That's going to be
the
crazy.
Knicks need to hurry up and win a championship because once that shit in San Antonio starts clicking, I think it's going to be them and OKC is just like the top tier talent, the '03 Lakers of their time, the Miami Heat, the Heatles. This is going to be a really tough team, and there's both those teams are so well built, so much depth. I mean, Stephon Castle was my very early Rookie of the Year pick. I think he's going to end up winning Rookie of the Year. And Fox is about to learn from CP3, the best in-game playmaker, probably in NBA history at the point guard position. Him, Magic, it's close. And then Greg Popovich as your coach. That's two of the smartest guys in NBA history, teaching you everything they know and learning from them and playing with them and for them is going to be unbelievable to his career and his development. And the one intangible that he brought that is very hard to find from someone who's on a megastar. He is clutch.
Yeah.
He has been one of the best clutch players, no matter who the head coach is, who's drawing to out of timeout and out of bounds plays. It doesn't matter. He's hit daggers his whole career. So pairing that with Wemby, I don't know how you stop. Good luck, man. Let's hurry up and win this chip before they just take over the league.
Yeah, for real, for real, for real. Oh man, wasn't there a trade rescinded?
Yeah, the Mark Williams one to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Dalton
Yo,
next, back to the pitchers.
Richard Jefferson made a good point. He was like, "Man, how awkward is it to like go back to the team that just traded you like that?" Bruh. Oh man. Like no one gets fired from work and then goes back in the office and then sits back down.
I, I think for Dalton, he's going to be happy because who the hell wants to play in Charlotte? He's like, okay, I'm back with Luka and LeBron. But Mark Williams, it's like, I got to go back to poverty. I just left. I was about to go compete for a championship, and now I'm on a what, 9-win, back to 9-win Charlotte Bobcats. Oh, that's got
Yeah.
to be terrible for him.
Like I just escaped jail and they caught me right
Yep.
before I got right before I got to the Playboy mansion. He just like cuffed me and put me back.
Got caught by the horny police.
Exactly. He's like,
I'm back
nope,
to jail, man.
nope.
Oh, I got a oop pitch. Shout out Nate Robinson for getting his new kid.
Yes.
That was something I thought about. It just kind of stayed in the back of my mind. Like the idea of him passing because of how screwed up America's healthcare system is. I'm very happy that he was able to find a donor, and it seems that the surgery went well because Nate was a survivor of like the darkest era in probably any team sports history. Those mid 2000 Knicks, '06 in particular that he played on. Oh man, so he survived from hell and back twice, both playing for Larry Brown and also getting a kidney. Good for him, man. Shout out.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Nate Robinson. Really glad to see that he's healthy and with the successful surgery, new kidney. Shout out to Ray Robertson for sure, man. All right. Also, shout out to JT Riddick who gives us a 999 super chat. Appreciate you, brother. Who says you're all 82 marathon, not a sprint. Appreciate you. Appreciate the support, JT Riddick. Man, thank you for just rocking with us. Also, shout out to everybody else in YouTube land: Sandman, Deraz, David Smith, Josh Smooth. Also, shout out to TikTok land people watching as well. Cash, Tony. Thank you for whoever was holding down the hearts for us earlier. Shout out to Joiner Contreras, who's just joining us right now as well on YouTube, on TikTok land, and he just left. That's cool. All right. All right. I have nothing else to add to this conversation. Next game will be. We almost wrapping up, fellas and ladies. I'm sorry. I know we got ladies here support us as well. We almost wrapping up, and it's almost time for the All-Star break. So next game is the Hawks on the 12th. So we got we got a nice little break again. So it's the 12th. We play the Hawks, and then All-Star break. And then after that, the next game will be February 20th, 26th, and then the 26th. So pretty much they're saying Mitch should be back between the 20th and 26th. They pretty much what they're saying.
JLS, I hate to correct you, but it looks like we played the Pacers on Tuesday and then the Hawks on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. What am I looking? Oh, this is this. Okay, this is the. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the tickets, the Knicks tickets. That's why it's not showing up.
Yeah, because the Wednesday's a home game. That makes sense.
Okay. Got you. Sorry about that, fellas and ladies.
This is me spitballing, and y'all can roast me in the chat for saying this. The way the cat looks, I would rest him and OG for the next 2 games. We drop two. I think it's worth it to have a really extended break and allow for Cat's finger and hand to heal and allow for whatever the toe or whatever it is, foot for OG. To me, it's worth it. Let's let Hot Party go wild and actually play some significant minutes at the 5. Let's see what Tyler Crowley can give you. Maybe if you'd be able to expand the bench rotation and just play out these last 2 games and let those 2 guys rest, because that last quarter of a season it's so important for us to gain momentum and get hot at the right time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think OG was playing anyway, to be honest with you. But Cat, I can definitely see them playing Cat. I feel like it's time for him to rest. The way he was moving, it's like, we had 4 days off and you coming back with a hobbled knee? Like, what the hell? Like, we had 4 days off. This is regressive. Like, what the? I mean, I guess they had
right?
practice and injured during. I don't know, but I would like him to rest as well. Get some hot T minutes in there. Rise his stock and his confidence. That'll be nice for sure. All right, yo, that's the show. Thank you guys for watching. Lee, let them know where they can find you, sir.
On Twitter at underscore Lee Escobedo, Leescobedo. And y'all, like a brush with death, you always kind of have that moment of clarity where you try to like get things, set things right and have a new experience. I'm lucky enough to where I've really been, I feel like I've had a good focus this year, the last couple of years on this, like how I'm living my life and chasing my dreams. This life is very, very short and it can get snatched up from under you by a blicky or an op or a cop. You never know who's going to take you out, or just the Grim Reaper when it's your time. So I encourage everyone to really do not sit on your dreams, chase them, give everything that you can to reach them, and do not forget or not appreciate the people along the way who help you get there as well. So JLS, I appreciate you. I'm so happy to be able to sit here and pod, even after a loss, man. Damn it. I don't care. I'm just glad to be alive. I'm glad to be chopping it up with my number one favorite person.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And Lee, glad you're still here, man. Glad you're still here. And I
Can't kill me yet. Gotta see this
can't.
chip. Gotta see this chip, man.
Damn Skippy. Damn Skippy. But yeah, salute to the chat. This has been a crazy year. This is a crazy year. Crazy couple of years
Yeah.
actually. Uh and I really thank you guys for the support because the amount of stress I've been going through between the whole crew has been going through. The whole everybody on KOT has been going through it. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Everybody. Everybody. This has been a really crazy season. And still managed to keep the show going throughout it, which is amazing.
And
Because
the fans don't know this, and the fans can't because it's all behind the scenes. But I think it's important you get your flowers, bro, because it's one thing for like, Ryan to miss most of a season to improve his knowledge and go to school. Ebony can miss a game. I can miss a game. Phil cannot do a Knicks nightcap. But this show is yours. You create this from nothing. And I understand like the pressure of having to do it. And there's been games where you have done this season by yourself because me or Ebony weren't able to be there for you. So I commend you. No one's put in more blood, sweat, and tears than you to keep KOT alive. And I know there's been days where it's been very hard for you to do the show because of everything that's going on in your personal life, professional life. I know you've overcame challenges that our fan base will never even know about. So I commend you, brother. I'm very proud of you, the work you put in. I'm very proud to share a stage with you. And I think blessings are coming your way very soon.
appreciate that, man. Appreciate that.
No doubt.
Yeah, and truthfully, y'all keep me going. Truthfully, y'all keep me going. Especially you, Lee, for all the BS people, for all the BS that goes on. Like Lee really helps me keep the battery going on my back. So I appreciate what you added to the team for sure.
Always and forever, bro.
But
I got you.
yo, thank you guys for watching. Appreciate the support. Lee, you let them know. You can find Lee. Yeah, you already said where you can find. You can find us at the KOT Show on Twitter, the Knick of Time Show on Instagram, and the Knick of Time Show on Facebook as well. All right. That's the show. Also, you know what? Happy Black History Month too. Bust those guns. This is a black show. Shout out to Lee. He's not black, but he's a supporter. Even in his Knicks space, there's a lot of black creatives in this Knicks space. A lot of things has been happening because of the black creators in the Knicks space. Has been trendsetters. There's things that's been created that you never knew has been created because of the black creators in this Knicks space. So happy Black History Month for everything that we contributed to America, to Africa, to history. Happy Black History Month. Shout out to supporters as well. All right. And
Man, I definitely want to second that too. When I think about America, I think about Black people because like my early experiences and the way that I've lived my life and where I've ended up living, I've just been surrounded by Black people my whole life. To me, they're American, like they're the most American of all. They built this country. They built the infrastructure for this country. They built the mechanism for the economy for this country. Cotton became our biggest export because of African Americans who were enslaved and didn't do it by choice, but were forced into it and taken from their country, brought over here and enslaved for hundreds of years. So to me, this country is this country because of the blood, sweat, and tears from African Americans. And it's great now that we live in a free society, that now we can become the best in our field. And that's why I love being on KOT. The reason that I wanted to be on KOT and not any other podcast, I loved how black it was. I loved that they were just unapologetically, that they were some of the smartest people I listened on YouTube, the most passionate about the Knicks fandom, but also understood the game of basketball. And I felt like I could join it and I could learn as much as I was giving. And that was the type of relationship that I was interested in doing, was like being able to give all of myself and all the weird things about my personality and my knowledge, but also learn so much from everybody else. And I've learned so much about basketball since I've been brought onto the show and invited as a co-host. And I thank all of y'all. So absolutely, to me, Black History Month is American History Month.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's not even just cotton. It's just like the culture, the intellect, like but from what we've done with peanut butter to how we contribute to inventing the light bulb, to hot combs, to traffic lights, to air conditioning, to super soakers, to a lot of things that aren't taught in in actual history books that we have to kind of learn from ourselves and teach ourselves. So when I see things like, oh, we're going to take out history from our books, it kind of scares me because it's like I know how our takeover works. Takeover works by A, brainwashing people to thinking that that person or that race is the entity. B, erasing the history. So now you can justify all the oppression that you can justify the oppression by erasing the history. So it's like, okay, slavery didn't happen. You're poor because you didn't pull yourself out your bootstraps. You're erasing the history, and now we can justify you keeping you in a certain place. So I see the play because history repeats itself, and I feel like I have to be more vocal because I can see history repeating itself right now. So I have to be even more vocal about saying Happy Black History Month. And black excellence and black pride is not damnation to people in other races like Latinos or Caucasians. I celebrate everybody who celebrates me, who supports us as well. It's not about hating other races. It's about enjoying what we've done for ourselves and this country as well. So salute to all the KLT supporters and Happy Black History Month.
If you think about the best in music, the best in visual arts, the best in theater, the best in poetry, to me, it's always an African Americans at the top of my list of who I love the most. Majority of my book club recommendations have been written by Black people because, to me, I just happen to like their writing. I think they're the best in their field. So when I look for the best in the field of any genre, punk music, metal music, rap, pop, jazz, to me, I always end up listening to an African American because when they're in a field, they tend to be absolutely dominant in that field because of the creative genius and just the way that their minds work, the culture is. They bring so much to this fabric of this country. And again, if cotton is what made us a first world nation, and it was made and cultivated on the backs of free labor, slave, which is unbelievable, but that was the start of this country. So to erase that or ignore that or not recognize that is not recognizing the greatness of America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. So salute to you guys. Shout out to KT supporters. We'll be back talking Knicks basketball next game. That's the show. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to Felicia. Always hunting down for the ladies in the chat. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. And you guys know the drill, as always.
Shout out the Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks streets. That's the show. We out this mug. See you next game. Peace.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
All right. Good show, Lee.